أما بعد. The title, as you're aware, is Rights or Responsibilities. Rights or Responsibilities. حقوق أو فرائض. Are we talking about the rights or are we talking about the responsibilities? If you look at that, it's actually one or the same thing. The rights of a person is actually a responsibility of someone else. And if that person fulfills the obligation, his duties, it would automatically be a right of someone else and he will be given his right, no issue at all. Could you see the difference? Now in the Western civilization, in Western way of thinking, everyone talks about, you can say it is a modern phenomena where even Muslims are thinking in the same wavelength, where they all think about my right. What are the rights of me? What are my rights vis-a-vis this person, vis-a-vis that person in relation to this, me as a father, me as a husband, me as a whatever, neighbor. So when we talk about neighbor, all of a sudden the idea is that I am neighbor of someone, he should give me my right. Fear Allah, give me my right. And Quran says, ittaqullah tasa'aluna bihi wal arham. Tasa'aluna bihi wal arham. Fear Allah, in whose name you ask each other to give the rights and also the ties of relationship we just spoke about before. Islam has slightly different ideas, slightly different perspective. We have rights of people, and we've been taught about this, but it has never been the idea of Islam to educate people of their right. You go out and ask for your right. No. When the rights are mentioned in Hadith or in Quran, Allah will say, أَن تُؤَدُّ الْأَمَانَاتِ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهَا, that you give the rights or the amanat, their trust, back to them. You fulfill that obligation. You go and, so every time you hear exhortation from Quran or Hadith, it is all about me doing something for someone else. It is never about what they should do unto me. No, it's always me unto them. And if you look at a simpler way of looking at that would be like this. This example, for example, you have a piece of bread, and we all have a right to it. We should all get a share of it. And everyone starts thinking about, by the way, I have a portion, so if we're 20 people here, we can say this 1/20th of this piece of bread belongs to me because we all are gifted this piece of bread. Yes, and then everyone starts jumping to grab his or her right. Very soon it will finish, and only few people would get a bit of that, more or less. So someone would have like 1/20th, or someone will get 1/5 or whatever. So someone would have a bigger portion, depending on how strong or closer he is, and how quicker he is in his judgment, and how quick he can grab it. So the access to the bread, sitting here, me being closer may get a bit better chance of getting better piece. You would have a little bit as well. So as soon as the people who are at the periphery perhaps would not have even a chance of getting anything. The one who's been fulfilled the right, I'm happy because I've been given my right. I'm very, very pleased with that. And I said, wow, subhanAllah. People are given their right justly. But when we see, or if I look at from the perspective of the person who has been deprived of it, he would have completely different idea. He would be very upset about this. And this is what's been happening world around, everywhere, in the Western or modern Muslim or non-Muslim countries, everywhere. Now the idea of Islam is that I have this piece of bread, or the committee members being gifted with this piece of bread for everyone. And now I am thinking from Muslim perspective, from Islamic perspective, that, by the way, there is a right for this particular brother sitting here over this. And I need to be very careful. It's my responsibility that I should give him his right, and him. So I must be cautious of that. And likewise, this brother and that brother, everyone is cautious about everyone else's right and think, I must give it to him. Maybe he hasn't got it. Oh, have you got it? Have you not? What would happen if in this situation? I would say, you take first. The other would say, no, you take first. Please, you start, you take. And somehow we would agree on a person who we think is just, inshallah ta'ala. Why don't you divide? So normally in our family's thing, we would just ask Wasim to divide it. Obviously, there's no justice or injustice thing. We'll get someone who we know could, divide nicely. He would start dividing it, giving pieces to everyone, and everyone get a piece. It could be a little bit more or less, but alhamdulillah, more or less everyone would get their share, a fair share, which they'll be pleased with, even if there's a little bit less or more, no concern, because we know this is human error. And there's always a possibility of human judgment there, not knowingly, with sincerity, but he has done, alhamdulillah. Do you ever question this? No, no one would question this to sort of division. And this is how societies build in Islamic tradition. And this is how it happened throughout. And that is why people could see when this man came to, is a Jewish man, he had zira. Zira is the, armor, a chest plate or chest, covering, a shield of Sayyidina Ali. And Ali is Khalifa at that point. So he had this, and obviously people could see whose is this particular zira. So Ali claimed that this is my zira, which is with this man. But the Jewish man, he said that this is with me. It is at my place. So this belongs to me. It is mine. So they went to Qadi, Shuraih, being the famous Qadi of early Muslim time. He called for Sayyidina Ali. So you've got your, case. Come and present to me, and also bring about your witnesses. So his witness was who? Sayyidina Hassan. He said, my son, he knows this is mine. I said, no, your son is not worthy of giving any witness for you. He's going to, by nature, he's going to say something in your favor. I'm not going to listen to him. Absolve him from this. And this is Amirul Mu'mineen. And he said, then I have no right, then I have no witness to it. I have no one else to suggest that this is mine. Qadi said, fine. So it doesn't belong to you. You can't have it, unfortunately. So fatwa is, this is going to the Jewish person. So he said, fine. And then he started going back. On his way back, few steps later, the person came back running after him and held him, asked him, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, this is what I was just trying to find out. How would it happen? Has the justice been done or not? And this is what made me believe that you have got the true religion. And he accepted Islam. He accepted Islam just by this incident. And he returned it back. And he said, why did you not fight for it when you knew that this is yours and I knew this is yours? He said, but I didn't have any evidence for it. That's why I couldn't win. So whatever fatwa was, whatever qada was, I'm happy with that. Even if it means that I've been wronged. It doesn't matter. As long as the fatwa has come from someone who is righteous. The idea is not about whether I get or he gets, whatever. As long as we follow the proper code of law. And there will be some judgment error or something where people might not get their fair share. We as a Muslim should try and learn to not look at what my rights are, but what my obligations are. In every facet of your life, your job, why do we always think that, as a Muslim, we are not given right in this country? Forget about right, please move on. Start doing something as an obligation, duties. What have we fulfilled? And you look at that in your life, you would see there's many problems in our societies are due to the fact that everyone is trying to snatch his right. And I tell you the story, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you all know it. I know everyone knows it. It's a very famous hadith, and people have mentioned it before as well, about the muflis. Mal muflis. Rasulullah asked the companions, who is the muflis? Who is the bankrupt man of this society or of this ummah? They said, Man la darhama lahu wa la dinara. So they say, the one who does not have dirham or dinar, who does not have money, wealth, children, family, status. So the muflis of my ummah, the bankrupt man of my ummah, is the one who comes on the day of judgment with salah, a lot of prayers, extra prayers, zakah, a lot of charity work. And he has done this, he has done that, so much of reward he has to his account. And he is, almost as if he could go to Jannah. Off you go. But before he could do that, some people from the other side approached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking for their right, saying, "Oh Allah, this man has slandered me. He has said something which I wasn't, and that was wrong." He, slander literally means to say something which the person doesn't have, which is different from riba. And slander you can do on the face and also behind someone. So you slander someone. This is slander of Aisha, the famous story where people call her that she has committed something wrong with someone else. That's the worst type of. Say again? Abdullah ibn Ubay. Yeah, he mentioned that he made this as a rumor, but others as well got involved. Some pious Sahaba got involved as well, 3 of them. But the idea is that if you slander someone, you say something about someone, you have taken a big responsibility on your shoulder. Anyway, so this man has done this. He has, taken someone's wealth. He has mistreated someone. He has scolded someone, slapped someone, has been unjust to this. Many things he has done. These people are queuing up to get their right. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, okay, save yourself by giving them their right, by giving them your reward from the account. So as if the angel is standing there and he will start saying, okay, you have slandered him, 20 reward for this one. You have done this to him. So there's a tariff going on. And whatever would, a fair share from the compensation on his part will be given back to those people. The people are continuing to queuing up. They all got some stuff. There's still few remaining before his good deeds are all finished. Now he hasn't got anything in his account. All the rewards are already being gifted or given to compensate for others or the injustices that he has done to others. And now those people say, Ya Allah, what about us? We haven't got anything in return. Allah will say, okay, take their sins and put them in his account. Take the sins of these people to absolve them from their credit or debt, or put them in his account. And this man, whereas he came to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a lot of good deeds, with the rights of people that he has violated throughout his life, he became penniless, bankrupt, and had a lot of bad deeds to his account now, and ended up in hellfire. This is the muflis of this ummah. This man is actually a bankrupt of this ummah. It is not much about whether I have got my rights fulfilled. It is more about, have I fulfilled my obligations in Islam? Have I done? It is better to be in credit vis-a-vis your right to others rather than be in debt. Having bad opinion about someone without a just reason. Out of thin air, I've just concocted a story about someone and now I'm pretty sure that this is how he is. See, he has done this. See, and gradually and you get some, shaitan is playing his role, your nafs is playing its part as well. And gradually, what happened, it appears that as if what I was saying was exactly, so in the first place, I said that this brother, see, he doesn't pray. I've seen him going away from the masjid the other day. So that is my bad opinion about this particular individual. And I'm thinking about that. And since I've seen it few times, I've noticed this few times, I started talking to people. Have you not seen? See, he doesn't tell. You notice, wallah, every time you see him at prayer time, he'll be coming out of this shop or that place. And they do, maybe. And gradually it becomes as if this is the truth and you know it. Without going out and checking it or confirming it. And every now and then, so my first sin was that I had bad opinion without confirming it. And I'm developing on that. it continues to develop to a point that others believe in what I am saying because I have made it so strong with few arguments, few points here and there they have seen. It could be true. It could be true. What you have said is true. If it is true, what have you achieved by that? That he has missed his prayers. What have I achieved by him not praying? Even if it's null and void. I'm not going to be rewarded on the day of judgment. Oh, by the way, you have done the job of angels, mashallah. So they've given a few days off because of in the credit crunch. You want angels to be off, hours or of job so that, astaghfirullah, this is not the situation. You haven't done any khair at all. If you claim that someone is sinful in this dunya and your judgment was right, so what? Have you achieved anything by that? Is that a rewardful thing? Is that something good? I said that he is prejudiced, and alhamdulillah, he turned out to be prejudiced, alhamdulillah. So what? Have you achieved something by that? You have done ghiba before. You have done ghiba before, and you're happy about that, and you have got this arrogance on top of that because you feel you're better than him because he is prejudiced or he is, he doesn't pray, whatever. And all these bad things that you have done, they're all going or could amount to sin. And they're all sinful acts anyway. And it could be that you have violated the right of that individual because you backbited him anyway. Even if he has done that mistake that you think that he has. And if he has not done what you think he has, what your impression was, if that impression turned out to be wrong, then what? What have you done then? You've slandered him. You have done ittiham or buhtan on him. And buhtan is worse than ghiba. He is going to grab you on the day of judgment. And I put it to you, it's very unlikely that the majority of ummah would not forgive others on the day of judgment. There'll be only few people who would have that sort of, iman and level where they can forgive others on the day of judgment. Mothers won't forgive their children. يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ. People would flee from their relatives, from friends, from brothers, from this and that, so that on the day of judgment, they don't ask me for one reward or anything. People won't give it back to you. Don't concern. People will think, no one would think about that. This is the day when even the prophets are on that day saying what? Nafsi, nafsi, I'm concerned about my own self. You think people would think about, I can't see him being, let me be in fire. Even if I'm going to Jannah, I'm not going to give you anything. It's very unlikely that people would do that to others, illa mashallah. Majority would not do that. So it's better to be safe than sorry, as they say. Talking about your own rights does not solve the problem. That you have obligations as well. I'm not saying, it does not mean that you should never think about the rights of Muslim as a whole, or right of parents as a whole, or brothers or neighbors. Mashallah, all these things are always there, but they spoke about a lot anyway. As an individual, this is all at an individual level. At an individual level, I should let go of my rights in favor of the obligation. I'll be better off without having my rights fulfilled than I have got some debt vis-a-vis obligation towards someone else. Oh, you haven't done to me. So you go to people and people actually say, you have not done this to me, you have not given that to me, so always ask about my personal right, which is fine. For me, they should ask me and grab me. I have no problem. But as an individual, I should feel that I must give their rights back as much as I could do. And let them be happy. But never concern myself with the fact that, oh, where's my right? So you see, brothers and sisters asking, when can we hear a talk about rights of Muslim wife? And the question, if it comes from brothers, that is a sign that people know. People want to learn what are their obligations towards their wives. It's always the other way. sisters are asking, can we have a talk about rights of wives in Islam? And brothers are asking, can we have talk about rights of husbands in Islam? We're still talking about these things. We haven't grown up at all. What if you've got all your rights in the dunya? You would have nothing to base on the Day of Judgment, nothing to fall back on the Day of Judgment. Because if your rights are not fulfilled, there are two ways of getting those fulfilled on the Day of Judgment. Either Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make you happy by giving you extra reward for every unfulfilled right, or that person who you have the relationship and he's the one who violated your right, you would have a chance to get some of his reward back to your account. So I hope in the dunya we can forgive all the people who have any debt due unto us, so that they are absolved from their responsibility on the Day of Judgment, and we have already received the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you say, oh Allah, I forgive everyone who I owe any right on. So the person has got a right, my brother, my mother, my father, whoever. Whatever right they have not fulfilled unto me, I free them all from that, Ya Allah. With the intention that you would make me pleased on the Day of Judgment. Whatever I have not been given, because this is an act of charity, this is a sadaqah, this is a good deed. I will be rewarded for everything that I'm saying. If you say, oh Allah, I absolve all the Muslims, brothers, sisters, non-Muslims, neighbors, this and that, from the rights that they owe, that I owe. And Ya Allah, just to seek your pleasure, so that they are not caught on the Day of Judgment. Isn't that a good thing? Obviously it would take a lot, but inshallah ta'ala we will be rewarded for this. We will be rewarded for this nice intention of freeing others of this obligation or potential sin. They may fulfill it later on. If they want to do it, fine. So someone who I've given this qard, a loan, if I could afford to absolve it, Ya Allah, I've absolved it for your sake, only for your sake. May Allah give him tawfiq to return it back, if he could do it. If he's genuine and he can't do it, since I can afford to not have it back, I forgive him. Just to seek your pleasure on the Day of Judgment. But if he's someone who is, you can think like this, sometimes I mentioned it to you as well. If you think that someone is really playing up with my, being nice, and they know they can actually misuse this. So they start going to you and then to someone else and to someone else, or send someone else to take some loan from you or whatever. So as they say, they try to, in a way, misuse this nicety of yours or generosity of yours, inshallah ta'ala. Obviously you don't want to be bit from the same hole twice as a Muslims, because Rasulullah said that Muslims are not being afflicted or bitten by the same hole twice. So you don't go to the same hole for the snake to bite you again. It's done that, fine. I'm not going to put my hand again. So obviously we have to be very sensible and quite clear, so that, and the idea even in this case would not be that so that I am free and I haven't got any problem in future. I don't get into trouble again with this man. That is a good thing, but on top of that, so that he does not violate the right of anyone else through my being nice and gentle to him. So sometimes you need to be a little bit harsh in that sense, but it is just with a good intention. With a good intention. So every time your intention obviously has to be very clear. And mashallah, Shaykh Taqi Uthmani, Hafizahullah, he's here, and this morning he mentioned about this. It's a very, very amazing thing that you hear and learn from scholars. So about the innamal a'malu bin niyat hadith, which is common hadith, people normally quote it. It's not from the top, it's a side point, but it's just, inshallah, that is worth mentioning about the intention. So people actually say, my intention is good, so it does not matter what I say or what I do. My intention is good, I'm doing it with a good intention. So then he quoted an example from Mufti Muhammad Shafi, his father, saying that he was in Hajj once, and one of his friends was there, and then a little bit old friend, but not too old, and he said, have you done your Rami? It was a day of Rami, the stoning to Jamarat. He said, oh, actually, I appointed someone to do it on my behalf, and he has done it. So Mufti Sahib asked, but you don't look ill or sick to me. You look healthy and strong enough to go and do it on your own. So why did he? Yeah, but my intention is good. But my intention was good. My niyyah was fine. He has done it on my behalf. That's fine. My intention was to do it. Alhamdulillah, he has done it on my behalf. I'm fine. Yeah, but what does that mean? So he said, if your intention was good, why did you even appoint someone else? Sit here, have a good intention that I've done the Rami. Alhamdulillah, it's done with good intention. He said, the trouble is people don't understand the idea of, because the hadith says, innamal a'malu bin niyat. Not innamal something with niyat. Niyat is there has to be there, but with an amal, with a good action, that action has to be done. I have good intention that I would pray, and I haven't prayed. Alhamdulillah, I had an intention. It does not absolve you from that prayer. One has to do the action and then intention. So anyway, the niyyah bit is this. One should have a good niyyah. That whatever I am doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you will see the blessing in the society, in the community. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in a hadith he said, ittaqul la'inayn. Fear from those two who curse. And they said, وَمَنْ لَاعِنَانِ Ya Rasulullah, who are those two that curse? So Rasulullah said, أَيْن يَتَخَلَّى فِي طَرِيقِ النَّاسِ أو في ظلهم أو ظلهم. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim from Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that you answer the call of nature on the pathways or under the shade of where people take some refuge in, where people take some shade under the tree. That you answer the call of nature on the pathway where people are walking, and then that pathway or that shade would curse you. Why would it curse you? Because there is a benefit from this pathway for people to walk by, to walk across. The passers-by would go by. And you are giving them this trouble. So they can smell something bad. So they can see something, not very nice. And even if there was no sign left, at least the smell would remain. The fragrance would be there. The fragrance of the tree would be gone away. There'd be some bad smell around. So you've hurt someone by doing this. And these places then curse the person. So fulfill the right of the pathway. What is it for? For whose benefit? For other human beings' benefit. في طريق الناس, Rasulullah didn't say في طريق المسلم, on the pathways of Muslim, for every human being, anyone who walks, so that they don't get affected or afflicted by this. Because ours is the way that we do not harm anyone with our tongue and with our hand. Al-Muslimu man salim al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi. And many scholars, as Imam Nawawi mentioned, many scholars would take it to mean not just for Muslims but even for non-Muslims. That with my hands and tongue, other Muslims and non-Muslims likewise are protected, are saved. I'm not saying there may be a time we need to do that in order to explain to them something or give them a lesson, to a Muslim brother or non-Muslim. There could be a time when you have to tell the truth so that they understand, but not with the intention of hurting them, and even trying your best not to say in a way that they get hurt. We all do that. We all fall short of that. It does not mean that I don't do it. I'm more sinful of many people listening here. But it's a reminder for myself and for everyone else, really, so that we are careful about what we say. The more we hear and mention these things, the more we will learn. The first step is to acknowledge. If you wrong me, I shouldn't have problem. Doesn't matter. I am not going to wrong you. If you have done something, some injustice to me, my style should be, my way should be, la bas. This is what Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has bore all his life. Rasulullah was taunted, tortured, said things which were like horrible. We don't stand any chance in terms of piety and being clear of that particular comment made by people in comparison to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Here he is free of any charge, free of any blame, and people are saying things to him. What are my chance of, on the day of judgment, saying, Ya Allah, I was innocent. Was I? Have done so much bad, and everything that's said to and done to me, perhaps I deserve all that hurting from people. I mean, is there any doubt about that? We are so bad in our character and our life that it doesn't. It shouldn't surprise us that we get all the trouble day in, day out. But there's no barakah or blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our lives. But I should still be happy, Ya Allah, if this removes some of my sins, takes some of my sins away from my account, I'm happier. And I am happier. I'm contented with whatever happened to me. Because never does a believer even get a thorn prick that his sins are, except that his sins are forgiven. His ranks are elevated. He's given some extra reward. So always look at the positive side of things. Don't get so concerned about your rights. Get more concerned about others' rights. Absolve yourself from absolve others from your right if you could do that, rather than having this, revengeful mind and heart. I need to just, get things back from this. What would you achieve by that? If someone else goes to hellfire because he hasn't fulfilled your rights, what would you achieve by that? At least he is with me in hellfire, we are both happy, I'm happy with that. That is a very childish, a sick mind. Even if I'm going to hellfire, Allah forbid us, and Allah save all of us. Ameen, inshallah ta'ala. But even if that's the bottom line, at least if I could save someone off the pit, get him out of the hook, why not? Maybe that good intention of mine would save me from a greater torment in the hellfire. Maybe I've been lifted up. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala get happy with me. Maybe that little favor of me onto some other Muslim, there would be a man, actually, according to some narration, a man who would have just one good deed. Just one. And there would be someone else who would have everything except one good deed. And he, on his own account, would go to him and say, on the day of judgment, to be honest, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going there. Why don't you just take it and save yourself? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would save both of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with this intention of this man, he would be given Jannah. Just on that day. Because he's selfless on that day. You can't plan these things. It happens when you nurture rahmah, mercy, forgiveness, kindness for others. You have to build it. If your heart is full of revenge, rage, anger, frustration about someone else, this group, that, it's difficult. Then you have to clean it. If your heart is clean, which alhamdulillah is not a bad thing, it's a very good thing, and most of us have that sort of heart, I believe, inshallah ta'ala. Muslim heart is just so, any human being, I think all human beings have a heart that they can wash very easily if they feel like doing it. The trouble is we don't want to do that. And the minute we start thinking about that, subhanAllah, you say, this man, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, I think, Rasulullah, when he was in the masjid, he said, when someone, this is the person who enters the masjid next, is from people of Jannah. The person who enters next is from the people of Jannah. And then after the majlis finished, one of the companions, perhaps Abdullah ibn Umar or someone else, he followed him back to his house. And such was the concern. He said, what does he do? What special does he do? I need to find out. He started following him and went back to him and knocked at his door when he entered the house, saying, by the way, I just want to be your guest for a few days. MashaAllah, they were open people. I want to spend some time with you a few nights. No, fine, no problem, come on in. And then this Sahabi, particular Sahabi, he said that we had food together, we slept, I woke up for tahajjud, he's still sleeping, we woke up for fajr together, prayed fajr, came back, then I saw him not fasting that day and he wasn't doing anything extra except for 5 prayers, and then after a couple of days I thought, this is a bit odd, I'm not finding what I was in search of, I'm not getting that, what special does he do? And then I just broke the ice. I asked the question, I said, what special do you do? Rasulullah said this about you. He said, I don't do anything. I don't do anything above the obligation, obviously, and staying away from haram. But one thing I can think of maybe, that every time I go to bed, every day I go to bed, I go with a clean heart against anyone and everyone in the world. I have no grudge for anyone in my heart, and I say to myself, Ya Allah, I have forgiven everyone, and I don't want to have any rancor, rage or hatred about or against anyone, and my heart is clean. That is the only thing I do. It doesn't take hours. Obviously, when you're in that habit, you just say, I'm free. And I know people who are like this in this dunya. And alhamdulillah, there are many people who would testify to it. And since my father passed away, I can say it now, inshallah ta'ala, he was one such character. And I mentioned it before. And people have done horrible things sometime. And there was this particular incident where someone literally wronged him in public. And then we came back from the place. A few days later, there's no, and this is some relatives and friends and whatever. No one is saying anything. Everyone is so upset because it's this humiliation, someone saying something bad to you in public. It's a big gathering. And we were like, subhanAllah, what do we do? They're both like, here's my father, there's my uncle, what do we do? So, mashallah. A few days later, so my father, he then asked me, come in the car. And he and my mother and my sister, older sister, we all sat in the car, and we were like, I don't know, it never happened, because our father has always been very open about everything. And this is first time ever I've seen him. Obviously, that was a big incident. Everyone was so shocked that we didn't have audacity to ask him or discuss this when we left. And in those 3 days, no one mentioned anything of such sort to him. But we went out, just sitting in the car. And then when he started going there, we saw, oh my goodness, he's going to that house. And we were like, what would he do? Maybe I don't know. My gut feeling was that he is going to do what I expected him to do. But you never know. Maybe he's angry and he's older as well. He may just go and say something harsher or something. And he has the right to do so because he was wronged. And this person enters the house. And he said, so the person who he had a problem with came out. And he said, forgive me for the sake of Allah. And that person, because as I said, people are generally very nice. There's some problem, some chemistry problem, and some, shaitan, when it comes into play, it just gives you a little bit of, bad ideas for a moment. And I saw him, he fell down to his feet and asked him for forgiveness. And the family likewise, listened, subhanAllah, it was our fault and we. And some of them actually wrote individually to us saying that it was our fault and whatever happened. The reason I'm saying this is just that it suggests the goodness of the other party and the goodness of this person who they could have split forever on this issue. I'm saying this is, I haven't given you actually what happened, I don't want to say that, but because it's been recorded, so I don't want people to know it. Inshallah ta'ala. But the story is such that you feel that, mashallah, and they both passed away, mashallah. And that they both, mashallah, I know them, obviously my father and my uncle, amazing people. Yet, there was sometimes shaitan comes into play. It was just such a horrible thing that happened. Wallahi, most people would find it difficult to forgive others for that reason. But this man has done that. I'm not saying because he was my father. I'm saying because it was a human being who I could see as a role model for this reason, mashallah. And many people testify to it, those who know, those who were there. So this is what we need. Forgive others for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Absolve others for the rights that I owe to them. And I am not going to ask for my rights, but I would try my best to fulfill my obligation so that I am not in trouble on the day of judgment. Imam Abu Hanifa, once he stepped, he was there's a lot of people walking in the bazaar, in the marketplace. He stepped on the feet of a young boy, accidentally. He said, how would you respond? How would you do the qisas of this on the day of judgment? The kids are amazing. Sometimes they, Imam Abu Hanifa fell unconscious. He just fell on the ground unconscious. Just by listening to this, what would I do on the day of judgment? I have wronged this young boy. He fell unconscious. And it appears like, it's a fantasy. You can't, it's just unbelievable. And when I read it, I was like, subhanAllah, what sort of wara', fear and concern this man had, inshallah ta'ala. Amazing. It's just too much. Likewise, this final story I finished in a couple of minutes. Sayyidina Sulaiman, Sulaiman, the Prophet, alayhi salam, Sayyid Sulaiman, alayhi salam, the Prophet, he once was out, and he actually, with his caravan, so he slept. And that colony of the ant, he somehow entered that area, and there was some threat that one of the ant felt. So she said, what is this satwa of you? What is this show off of your power? And you're threatening us with this. We felt literally you're going to actually demolish our houses, and you would do something. So what is this? What is how would you know that you will be coming in front of Al-Malik, Al-Jabbar, Al-Qahhar, that sort of words he used, that particular ant. He said, you will be standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He would sort you out. He would ask you questions. Why are you threatening us with your, style, or with your or whatever? He felt unconscious. He fell unconscious, Sayyidina Sulaiman, the Prophet. And when he could regain his consciousness, he asked, what would you take to forgive me? How would you forgive me? What is the compensation for this? He said, if you promise that you would do 3 things, I will forgive you. And he said that you would never turn a sa'il. Whenever someone comes to you for asking anything, go and help him because you're a king. And there were a couple other things similar to this. That you would never show the dunya. It should not make you feel happy. So don't even smile or laugh thinking that I have got enough of dunya. It should not make you laugh and be proud and arrogant. And there was 3rd condition, I can't remember. The 3 conditions she put, and then obviously, as I keep mentioning about these narrations, whatever is the authenticity doesn't matter anything. What matters is the message. Message is clear. One should have that much of fear that I have violated the right of someone. I must repent and I must ask for forgiveness from that particular individual, because on the day of judgment, there will be no khulla, no shafa'ah. There will be no intercession for the person who has done this. So sometimes, and on top of that, sometimes you feel people are just so obsessed by this judgmental style, and then everyone is in this mode of judging others. And when it turns out to be true, they say, see, I said it. I said that he was like this. And there you go, he is like this. What have you proven by that? Are you God? Did you get, wahi or something? What is that? Isn't it arrogance? This is pure arrogance. You're feeling good about yourself. There's nothing good into it. You were wrong before, or you're wrong even now, even if he's proven to be the way you said he was. Because initially you did riba to him, because he had the problem. Now that he has done it, you are arrogant. In both ways, you are sinful. Whether he is or he is not. Maybe he has asked for forgiveness. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows some of the good qualities that he had. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave him. Whereas for you, you know you are fair with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really have forgiven you or will forgive you. So the bottom line is, leave people alone. Stay away from people. Not in physical sense, in a sense that I am not concerned about where you are. I'm concerned about if you're going wrong way. But that is with the intention that I want to bring you back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that you're not punished on the day of judgment as my Muslim brother or non-Muslim fellow. But I am not bothered, but he does so and so to me. Doesn't matter. Let them do what they're doing. As I said, I would rather be in credit on the day of judgment than in debt vis-a-vis my rights. Let them do what they're doing. Be fearful of how would you respond. So consider, when it comes to your own personal matter, don't give you any allowance. Be as strict as possible. But when it comes to others, then give them as much allowance as possible. Maybe they had, maybe keep absolving them, keep freeing them, forgiving them. Maybe this was the reason. Maybe that he did it without intention. Maybe he didn't have the idea. Maybe he did it momentarily slip or something. Maybe, inshallah ta'ala, he would have asked forgiveness. Even if maybe he didn't ask me to forgive him because he didn't have the courage to do it. Maybe he feels a bit upset by that. I'm happy, I don't need that back. Don't ask me, I'm fine. You're freed. That should be our attitude. Rather than asking for my rights, I'm more concerned about my obligation. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand it. May Allah give us tawfiq. And you would see, I think you can see, if a society is built on such principles, there will be very little issues going on among families, in the neighborhood, here and there. People would have subhanallah. I know people are different. They would want to have their rights, which is within the legal framework. If they're doing it, that's fine. If they're doing it with the justice, that's fine. But again, asking for justice, sometimes it's a bit too... I feel fearful that if we ask for the justice, then it could be that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do justice to you. Do you really want Allah to do justice to you? Who wants Allah, who wants on the day of judgment to be done justice to? Wallahi, we can't afford that. We can't afford Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be just to us. We want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be merciful. He ignores, he, forsake. He just leave us. He forgives us. He does not pay much attention to our account. He just say, fine, go ahead, I ignore. As they say, turn a blind eye or deaf ear, whatever. So that we are happy on the day of judgment. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were to take account of everything and He were to do justice to us, we will not be able to save ourselves from hellfire. Not just us, even the most pious of the pious. Barring prophets, we can leave them because that's their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But a human being, all they need, including Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to hadith, he said that I would not enter Jannah with my action. It will be through the mercy. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The rahmah is of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's we are after, not the justice. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand and then act accordingly. قلت قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Any comments or questions?
There was a battle where 3 of the companions were about to die, and they were looking for reporters. And
keep going.
No, you just quickly mentioned because responsible here as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so what point are you trying to
It's like,
make from that?
Giving others rights, isn't it?
Yeah, they were more concerned about this. This is what's called ethar. Ethar, slightly different concept, but very important. You know, there's a report which has got some problem with the authenticity, but inshallah ta'ala, we can take benefit from that. Where in a battlefield, three Muslims, all three were about to die, about to pass away, and then someone brought a pitcher of water and offered one, and before he could take it, he heard someone else asking and crying for water next, very close by. So he said, "No, why don't you give it to that man?" And this man rushed to that one. He said, "No." He heard the same thing from close by another person. He said, "No, go to him." By the time he reached that person, he was dead, already martyred in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he returned back to the second and to the first. They all passed away. They all got shaheed because they were in the battlefield anyway. Obviously, that is what we call ithar. That is giving preference to others over you. It wasn't the right of anyone else as such, because you were dying, so you could have that water. But as I said, there's some dispute about the authenticity. But inshallah ta'ala, message is clear. That is the concept of ithar. And Quran says, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. That they do ithar, they do prefer others over themselves, even if they themselves are in trouble in terms of tribulation. They have got little that they can enjoy, little food, yet they prefer others. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he and his family fasted for 3 days, and they did not have enough to even have their proper iftar, so just to break their fast. They didn't have enough bread, but someone knocked at the door right at that time, mashallah, at the time of Maghrib. So they said, give it to them. They all broke their fast with like a date or so and a bit of water. That's it. Next day, fasted again, and 3 days in a row. And this ayah of Quran is actually in reference to that. Obviously, al-umum, al-ibratu li-umum al-lafz wa la bi khusus as-sabab, means that the benefits are derived from the generality of the ayah, as opposed to the specific reason why the ayah was revealed. So we take the benefit from that. So we can take benefit, inshallah ta'ala. Obviously, we're talking about slightly at a higher level, but inshallah ta'ala, people should try and do as much as possible in order to get something. So if you aim that high and you start jumping, you may get here. If your aim is just so, ulul himma, as they say, the lofty aspirations, people should have the loftiest aspiration, and hopefully they would go somewhere in the middle, somewhere close to that point, hopefully. And this is just with the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a reminder to me and to you. So may Allah give us tawfiq, inshallah ta'ala.
I was referring to the beginning when you started about the zira of Ali radiallahu anhu. Now, he went to the Qadi, and Qadi has taken the decision asking one person. Why would he not ask the Jew as well, who possessed the armor, whatever it is?
Very good question.
And if he did ask, I'm just only trying to imagine that he might not have enough evidence in his favor so that it could have automatically gone to others.
Very good question. The question is a little bit fiqhi question, or you can say slightly juristic question, which is Sayyidina Ali was asked about the evidence that this belonged to him, and it wasn't asked from the Jewish men why how could he have that. No, the asl remains. This is about the asl. So things are considered to be as they are until they are proven otherwise. If I know this person to be married, then he is married until there is a reason or there is a clear proof that he is not. If I know someone to be a Muslim, he remains a Muslim. This is the asl, this is the original matter, unless he claims otherwise. Likewise, if someone was non-Muslim, he remains non-Muslim as far as the law is concerned, unless he proclaims his shahada, gives benefit, gives evidence for that. Since the zira was found with this Jewish man, it was his until proved otherwise. Until it is proven otherwise that it does not belong to him. It's like, are you asking people, however he got it, if he is stolen, this is a charge. This is a, criticism or charge or some sort of, what do you call the, is a charge, isn't it?
Yes,
Or
it is.
say again?
It's a charge, yes.
A litigation, allegation sort of, accusation or allegation.
Yeah.
So that needs to be fulfilled. The person who accuses or puts some allegations upon someone else is the one who has to bring the evidence. It is not the person who you have, charged or accused of something wrong. He doesn't have to prove himself innocent. The person who accuses someone has the obligation to give the evidence for him being guilty of that action. Because the asal is everyone is innocent until there is evidence to prove that they are not innocent.
But in a present-day court, they will examine both the parties.
No, not at all. Not at all. It doesn't work like this. Whoever is charged needs to present his evidence. That's it. The person who is charging someone else, you have to prove the charge. Why would you? It's like my glasses. If you say that these are mine, you have to give evidence. How come? If you say that I've stolen, then you have to give me the evidence that I've stolen from you. So, because in the same way that people can ask anything from heaven, oh, that's mine, and that's mine, and that's mine, I don't have my receipt now, so what would happen? Whose is this? Whatever is with me is mine by default, unless someone proves that it is not mine.
Hence
Say
the
again?
term possession is 9/10 the law.
Say again?
Hence the term possession is 9/10 the law.
There you go. Possession is 9/10 of the law. There you go.
I have possessed by unfair means, full stop.
So you have to prove that.
I
that
have
that was.
possessed
you
not
have
one
to-
item, maybe several items.
Yes, you have to
For
prove
the
that.
sake of argument.
Yeah. No, exactly. One has to prove that. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing,
Yes.
if I may just put forward, the Sahabi
Yes.
who was given that good news of the Jannah, and he was just like any other Muslims. And when he would go to bed, he will have nothing against anybody. But I'm saying, in this present world, if you're working for an employer, and for XYZ reasons, one day, the employer had told you off, obviously the mistake was yours. And so you won't be able to sleep nicely, and it will go on for some time. And then at some stage, of course, you will fall into the stage of sleep, but this will be there. But this Sahabi is such a high person, he has got nothing against, and he goes to sleep like that. But how many of the present-day people will be able to do that? That's what I'm trying to come back.
So it is not obligatory that you should do that. You can have some grudge in your heart, and you can still be a Muslim who is pious Muslim, but you would not be given the glad tidings of being in Jannah. Obviously, that's the highest position that you want to be. If you want to be in that state, then you have to learn to forgive people like this every night. It does not mean that who can't do it is sinful. You can have that, but then you'll be made accountable on the day of
just a
judgment.
reaction that comes automatically.
Yeah.
And even if you want to stop it, it will keep coming.
Exactly. So you keep thinking about, okay, what happened? Was it because of my shortcoming? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actually given me some trouble time in this dunya. It will absolve me from the accountability on the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is elevating if I haven't done anything wrong, it may be just that some sin that I don't know I've committed accidentally. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is washing those away. It may be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is elevating my level through that trial if I be patient. And we know whatever is there. مَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُصِيبَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. And مَا أَصَابَ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ إِلَّا فِي مَا أَصَابَ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ مَا أَصَابَكَ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ the other one إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مِّن قَبْلِ أَن نَبْرَأَهَا. So Surah Al-Hadid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says مَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُصِيبَةٍ. It's about like whether there's I've got the whole of that, which is that it's happening from your own selves or around you, whatever is happening, it is actually been written up already by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مِّن قَبْلِ أَن نَبْرَأَهَا, that we have already mentioned it and decided about that. So if Allah wants to afflict me with some pain or something, there is a reason, because He loves me more than I do myself. So I deserve that. It's like a bit of trimming going on. So I should be patient with that. I shouldn't ask for it. When it happens, then alhamdulillah. Immediately my reaction would be like this. And immediately I would ask for forgiveness. Oh Allah, give me tawfiq that I can forgive others. But inshallah ta'ala. Obviously these are all high, as I said, these are lofty aspirations which we can aim for. But whatever happens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would make it easy, inshallah ta'ala. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك. We'll continue with Abu Ali's series of movies. No, it would be, sorry. Question, now, good point, mashallah. Next week it will be about Laylatul Nisf min Sha'ban. And obviously, a lot of controversy, a lot of questions about this, whether there's, and hopefully I will bring some booklets that Abu Ali has written on the subject. Golden Rule of Differing and 15th of Sha'ban booklet, inshallah, we'll distribute to you, give you as a gift, inshallah ta'ala. So the title would be what, Laylatul Nisf min Sha'ban, which is the 15th of Sha'ban. We call it Shab-e Barat. What is the significance or lack of it in Islam? So we argue about that, inshallah ta'ala. Have a good question answer session on this as well. Jazakallah khairan.
Good idea, quite relevant for the relevant time.